Hi, my name is Bobby, and I want to show the multi-directional stitches on the Brother NQ3500D. Okay, so this machine is a Q series machine from Brother. It also has a few machines in the Baby Lock lineup that are kind of twins of this machine, so things like the Baby Lock Aventura, which is the direct twin of this machine. Also the Soprano, the Lyric, the Catherine are also in the same series of machine. They're kind of built on the same chassis, even though they look a little different cosmetically. Most of the insides are still the same. Some of the variants in the series come with different accessories. They might not have a color screen, they might not do embroidery, they might not have the automatic presser foot lifter, but for the most part they're the same machine. So I wanted to show a little bit about how the multi-directional stitches work. So let me go ahead and get right into it. I've already got the machine threaded with embroidery thread because it shows up better, and so that is that's what you usually use when you do a stitch like this. I also have a little piece of fabric with stabilizer underneath because these stitches are pretty thick or dense, so stabilizer is a really good thing to have when you're doing this. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the machine. Okay, so when it starts up, touch it to get into the stitch menu. Now, what I was talking about in the Facebook group is that, let me get you over to the screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so when the machine comes on, you're greeted with this menu, okay? And this menu is the initial menu that comes up when you go to choose any stitch. So right now I have it set on a straight stitch that is actually in the 1/4 inch position. I changed the initial stitch to be that since I usually piece on this machine. But if I want to change the stitch in any way, all I have to do is press the stitch edit button, and I have all of these options available to me. So I can change the width, the length, the left-right shift, which is where the needle position is. I think this machine has 27 needle positions, something crazy like that. And I can also change the tension right there. So I can do those things with any of the stitches. Even if I choose a zigzag, I can do that. And you can actually see the stitch changing as you make changes. You can watch it right on the screen. So you have a live stitch preview window, so that's kind of cool. Defaults are highlighted, so if you change them it will not be highlighted, so that's a good thing to know. But you know, you get the live stitch preview. You can make those alterations on regular basic utility stitches. But if you would like to do a decorative stitch or a multi-directional stitch, you can't do that. That doesn't work. So let's go ahead and get into the menu for those stitches so I can show you what I mean. So I'm going to press the stitch selection button at the bottom. OK to cancel the current selection. And let's get into some of these, which is menu number 7 here. Okay, on the screens that are not touch screens and that are not the, the color screens, you're going to have different ways to access those stitches, probably a number that you would type in, but they're the same stitches for the most part. So what you do is find one you like. I like this one. I like these. I like the ones that look like flames or grass, and I love the rings. Those circles look really cool. So when I touch that stitch, it sets the machine up to make that stitch. But if you look, width, length, and left-right shift are all blanked out. There are dashes there, and I can't change them. If I touch the stitch edit button, I can't do anything with that. So I cannot alter these stitches in any way. I can change the tension, but that's the only thing I can change. So I need to be happy with the length or width, or that's just too bad. There's no way to change it. So yeah, that really sucks that they don't give you that level of control with this machine. This machine was a $2,500 machine, so not good. But I will go ahead and stitch this out just to show you how that works. It is kind of fun to watch, and I'm okay with the defaults for the most part, but I still want that level of control, especially when you spend this kind of money on a machine. So I have a Bernina over here, and it lets me alter every single stitch, and it just gives me more control over everything. It also has more options for editing embroidery. It's just a better machine as far as that goes. It has other quirky things about it that make me like the Brother better in some ways, but that's why we have a collection. So let me go ahead and just show you this stitching out because it's kind of fun. So let me just make sure that the camera is looking right at what we're doing. Okay, so that's the needle, and I'm going to put the fabric under the presser foot. Okay, I'm going to lower the foot with the button because I can do that, because this model does have that. I could also raise and lower the foot with the lever in the back, or I can pop the knee lifter in the hole in the bottom, and if I do that, then the knee lifter is electronic, so I just touch it and it raises and lowers the foot automatically, which is really cool. So I'm going to remove the foot pedal so I can use the stop-start button. And I'm just going to let the machine do its thing. Okay, so I'm just going to finish there for now. Cut the thread and raise the foot. Okay, so this is the work that is finished. Let's see, is that even showing up on the camera? So here's the back. Okay, if you can see that. I've got lights in my eyes, so I can't tell what's visible on the screen or not, or on the camera or not, but the tension looks really pretty good. I don't see much bobbin thread coming through at the top. That's the one thing I can adjust. If I see bobbin thread on the top, I can change that, but it actually looks really good. Some of these decorative stitches do have the option to adjust the density. Let me see if this one does. I don't see that option for this stitch. Yeah, it looks like that option's not available for this particular stitch, but some of these decorative stitches do let you adjust the density. So what I will do is go ahead and show another one of these stitching out because they're kind of fun. Okay, so this one doesn't move left and right like the other one did, but it's still a fun stitch. You know, I could see that being grass or maybe even flames or something, but that's kind of a fun stitch. So I'll try to show you a final shot of that when I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm looking at the lights right now, so I don't know where I'm holding that. But let me find another one that actually moves, because that's the fun part. Okay, so I'll do a little scallop. The scallop moves. I've used this one before for fun, and it's neat to watch. Always mix up the thread cut button and the presser foot button, always, but that's really neat to watch. But I have to be happy with that size because I cannot make that shorter or skinnier or longer, or you know, I can't change it in any way, so I have to be happy with that size. It has to fit what I'm doing, and that's kind of sad. So the other thing that you can do with this machine, if you would like to, is you can actually, let me get you back over to the screen so I can show you. Okay, so we're in the decorative stitch option menu right now, but what I can do is go back to the stitch selection menu, and I can choose manual left or right sewing or front or back sewing with straight stitch or zigzag. So we've got a forward straight stitch, a left straight stitch, a right straight stitch, and a backwards straight stitch, and the same thing for the zigzags. So again, if I choose any of these, I cannot change the width or the length at all. only the tension, which is really stupid. So I'll go ahead and show those as well, just a little bit, just so you can see the level of control that you have. This only sews in 4 directions, front, back, left, and right. My Bernina will sew in 16 directions because it has all of the diagonal angles as well. So, and I can edit the stitch in length and width on those as well, so that's much nicer. So unfortunately, Brother just does not give you that level of control. Okay, so I'm dropping the foot. Right now I've got a right-facing straight stitch. Let's hit the start button. Stop, and let's do a backwards facing straight stitch. Or frontwards. Okay, so that's just like regular sewing, except you can't control anything. Now we're going to do a left straight stitch. The first time I tried this on my Bernina, it was really weird to see fabric moving in that direction. It freaked me out. Okay, so I just made a little trapezoid-shaped box, but you could maybe use that to sew a patch on or something. I'm not sure what you would do with it, but let me do the zigzag as well, just for fun. Okay, so I was going off the edge there almost, but you know, it does do multi-directional stitching somewhat. There's not a lot of control, but it does have that option available. So let me show you a little bit about the stitch menu. So if you can see this. So this is the stitch menu. These are all of the stitches that are in the multi-stitch directional menu. And some of these are just decorative stitches that do not go multiple directions. The others do. So if you want to have a look at those, those are the ones that are the decorative stitches, and you can't really control any width or length on any of them, which is very, very sad. The only ones that you can really control are the ones on this side. So, you know, this from left to right, this is the whole stitch chart. And that's the end of it. So anyway, those are the options that are available. One really cool thing about this machine is that it has a button on the front. Let me get you back down so you can see. It has a button on the front, which is really a nice feature. Not all machines have this, but this button right here above the reverse button, which is a, it's basically a lock stitch button. So it will just sew in place instead of reversing over the stitches to lock them in place, which is kind of nice. But if you want to, you can also use it as a pattern end button. So if you're sewing around curves with a decorative stitch, it'll finish that stitch and then it will not start a new one until you pivot, so it's not going to have any awkward stops and starts, which is really cool. So yeah, let me go ahead and see if I can demonstrate that. Okay, so that stitch was much too large to try that on. So let me let me not demonstrate it on that one. Let me choose a different one. Okay, so it got to the end of that stitch pattern. Now it's stopping so that I can pivot the fabric. So I'm going to raise the foot with the needle down, turn the fabric, lower the foot again, and keep sewing. So I probably picked a really bad stitch to demonstrate that feature on, but you get the idea. So anyway, let's see. So that is the sample of my stitch out. So just so you can kind of see how dense the stitches are. And that's really all for this video. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.